Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron, and before today's episode of Thorgi's Picks begin, you know that this is the show in which I recommend a comic book to you guys, and then I give you a link to where you can buy that book on Amazon in the description down below. And if you buy that book on Amazon, then we get a small cut of the profits. However, even though the book I am talking about in this video came out today, I checked the Amazon link as I was uploading this video. For some weird reason, Amazon can't sell this book either digitally or physically until the 14th. They have to wait 2 more weeks to be able to sell this book. So I was going to scrap the entire episode and wait until the book was available on Amazon. But I thought, you know what? I love this book so much that I'm going to still upload the episode today because I just want to talk about it. And even though it is not available on Amazon just yet, you can still buy it at your local comic book store. So you know what? Even if I'm not making any money off of it, go into your local comic book store, check out the book that I am talking about today, buy yourself that physical copy. Or if your local comic book store does not carry this book, then I will put a link to where you can buy a physical copy of it through Midtown Comics, and they will ship it to your door directly. However, if you do still want to buy the book on Amazon, then I will leave the link in the description down below of where you can pre-order this book. Again, that does still go towards helping out this channel. And I do also recommend another book by the same artist and writer that you can buy right now and is readily available to buy on Amazon. So, in other words, there are many ways that you can buy the book that I'm talking about today in the description down below. So again, sorry for this weird opening, but I just wanted to make it clear that even though I'm talking about how this book is out today, it's not out on Amazon for 2 more weeks. But again, I just really wanted to talk about this book today, so I wasn't going to go back and re-record. So thank you guys, and enjoy today's episode of Thorgi's Picks. Today is a rather large day for comics. And yes, I know I say that almost every week, but I'm typically lying. But this week, something is coming out that I am really excited about, and I'm going to spotlight today on Thorgi's Picks. Yes, for anybody who doesn't know Thorgi's Picks, it's the show every single week on this channel where I spotlight a trade and then I put a link in the description down below of where you can buy that trade on Amazon. And if you buy that trade or anything else through that link on Amazon, then we here on this channel get a small cut of the profits. It's a great way to get yourself something special and help support this channel at the same time. And the book that I am talking about today is the new trade from Dark Horse Comics, Paybacks. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a while, then you probably heard me talk about Paybacks because 2 years ago, it was on our top 100 comics of the year list, and it wasn't just on the list, it was at number 5. It was way up there, and if I'm being totally honest with you guys, when I make those top 100 comics of the year list, I try to look at the books objectively. I don't rank them by what's my favorite comic of that year. I try and look at, okay, well, what was the quality of the writing? What audience was it aimed at? And how well did it appeal to that audience? How well did it succeed in what it was going for? How well did the overall general audience enjoy it? I try and look at factors like that, so it's not my personal favorite books of the year. Payback was my personal favorite book of that year. If it was a list of my personal favorite books of the year, it would have been number 1. I freaking love Paybacks, and it's been impossible to get in trade. And the reason for that is because originally it came out over at Dark Horse, and they ran it for a couple of issues. And then they stopped doing that because it moved over to Heavy Metal Comics, and they ran it until the series ended. Here's the thing. Heavy Metal, despite the fact that they put out a ton of great series, don't collect any of them in trades. So if you're one of those people out there who heard me talking about how much I love this series, and you checked out the Dark Horse collections, you were never able to finish that story, despite the fact that the ending to that series is jaw-droppingly good. I love the end of Paybacks. It has some of my favorite moments from any indie superhero comic I've ever read in my life, and you find people out there who were unable to probably pick up these single issues of it when it was coming out from Heavy Metal because Heavy Metal does not have good distribution here in the States. You never ever got to finish this until today. Today, Dark Horse is putting out the complete collection, which has not only the original Dark Horse run, but the finale to the series that was printed over at Heavy Metal. Now, I'm going to tell you in just a second what Paybacks is all about, but I think I can immediately sell a lot of you on this series right away by saying it's from Donny Cates, and it was one of the things that made me really perk up and go, oh, who's this Donny Cates guy? I need to start following him. I had read stuff from him before this, But I had been like, okay, that's really good, and if this guy does something else, then, you know, I'll check it out then. Paybacks was the thing that made me go, oh, it's from the guy who also did that thing, and this thing is even better than that thing that I already loved? I'm going to remember this dude's name, and I'm going to follow him and cheer him on and hope that something big happens to him. Guess what? Something is currently big happening to him. This guy's career is exploding at the moment. I'm going to quickly move on from the last thing that I said so you guys don't focus on how bad my grammar was a second ago. Donny Cates right now is taking off over at Marvel. He is currently becoming one of their biggest rising stars, and I am so happy to see that. He's currently doing the Venom series that's got everybody talking about Venom. He did the Thanos series right before that got everybody talking about Thanos. In between that, he did a very short run on Doctor Strange, but a lot of people love that Doctor Strange run. I know that I especially did. Yeah, man, Donny Cates is non-stop at the moment. He is just winning every single direction. This was the book that made me go, this guy is going to be huge and someone needs to get him signed onto their company. So I'm really glad that Marvel did, but for anybody else who wonders where my love of Donny Cates began, it actually began at a series that he did called Buzzkill. Yeah, you thought I was going to say Paybacks. No, I gotta lead you into Paybacks here. Now, why am I talking about Buzzkill? Well, Buzzkill, it was a story all about a superhero who gets his powers from drugs. Yes, from alcohol, cigarettes, even heavier stuff like cocaine and marijuana and heroin. The heavier the drug, the more powerful he gets when he loads up on it. And a lot of people might look at that and be like, oh, that sounds like some really weird Adult Swim style goofy comedy. This was a heartbreaking tragedy. Yeah, this was not a joke. There were jokey moments in there. He introduced this character that was basically just a tripped out hippie version of Doctor Strange, and that guy was amazing, and he actually pops up later in Paybacks. But yeah, this was a really just soul-crushing story about this guy who, yeah, well, someone has to be a hero, but I do really bad things when I get powered up because I have to do bad things to get powered up. And it's kind of wrecking my life, and it's wrecking other people's lives. I can't keep doing this. But people need to be saved. There needs to be a hero. It's a very unique situation that I can't really even see any other form of entertainment being able to tell a story like this. It's something that you can really only tell in the superhero genre. And it gets into like his family, his friends. It really does just show how much his powers have messed up his life. But it's not like a normal drug rehab style story where it's like, okay, you just have to face your own personal demons. It's very different because, no, he actually has a really good reason for why he can't face his personal demons in here. So, yeah, that is the book that when I picked that up, I didn't know what to expect. I was like, oh, it's that, you know, we're going to do something grim and dark with the superhero thing. Yeah, everybody's done that, man. That's nothing unique. Oh, this is really unique and no one's done anything like this. And it's written insanely well. That's when I really started paying attention to this guy. I started following him a little bit after that. He came back with Paybacks. And Paybacks takes place in the same universe as Buzzkill. That's why I mentioned Buzzkill first. It's the same universe, same artist, same creative team all around. And you don't need to know anything about Buzzkill beforehand. You don't. Just a couple characters from there pop up. However, the one thing that I will say carries over from Buzzkill is just the very unique look at superheroes. That was the thing that kind of defined Donny Cates' superhero universe. It's that, okay, it's all the stuff that you guys know. If you know how superheroes work, you know how this universe works, except we are going to take one thing that you never considered and twist it 180 degrees. Because what Paybacks is all about is imagine the Suicide Squad if they were a repo company. You know all those big fancy gadgets and magical weapons and super suits that all the superheroes have? That stuff costs money. Lots of money. And these heroes don't have lots of money. Even Bruce Wayne would have gone broke a dozen times over with all the bat gear that he's had to buy. But one person out there has enough money for it. So if you want to get yourself a fancy new super suit, you want to get yourself a special magical horse that you ride into battle, you have to go and talk to this person and take out a loan. And if you can't pay back that loan, they will come to you, strap a bomb on you, and say, you now work for us, and you have to go and repossess all the stuff from these other heroes and force them to come and work for us as well. It's basically this giant billionaire, trillionaire, zillionaire who is amassing his own personal superhero army because, hey, they signed that dotted line that said, I want me a new super suit. And I said that Buzzkill was really tragic. Is Paybacks really tragic as well? It has tragic moments in there. It certainly does. However, this is a far more humorous story. This has an amazing sense of humor that is so unique. It's unlike anything that I have ever read in a comic. And man, I've been reading comics for a long time, so the fact that I can still say that about a book, it's special. That's something you don't run across every single day. And like I said, that's why Paybacks was the thing that made me go, oh, I'm going to go from following this guy and hoping that he does something really cool in the future to just being a massive giant fan of him who is cheering him on at all turns. Yes, this was the thing that got me paying attention to Donny Cates because it was just that special. The characters in here are so likable, but at the same time, they're kind of stereotypes of other superhero genres that we've seen before. Like there's a guy in there who is meant to totally just be an homage to 90s superheroes because his power is he's covered in pouches, but he can pull out magical giant guns from these pouches. Yeah, man, if you are a comic book fan, you know exactly what that's making reference to. You don't need the big giant backstory on this guy, but they give you just enough of a twist on him, so it's like, okay, I'm familiar with this. But now you've twisted it a little, so he's different, so he stands out in my mind. That is a great way to write characters that are meant to be homages to certain types of characters. But also, the Easter eggs in here. This is a series that it's not just for comic fans, it's for people who are just comic book nuts. It's for people out there who are willing to sit down and look at every single panel and not just look at in terms of like, oh, okay, well, that's from this book, that's from that book. That's from this thing over here. It's for people who know about the business as well. There is an amazing reveal in here. A jaw-dropping, stunning reveal. Towards the end of this series, the only way you would even know what this reveal means, have any idea what's going on with this reveal that like a huge chunk of the story is all centered around, the only way that you know the impact of it, know what it means, the only way that you feel any emotion towards it is if you have been heavily invested in the legal quagmire that surrounds one specific obscure character from the past like 3 decades over in British comics. I hope I didn't give too many clues there, but it was one of those moments that when that reveal finally comes, I just started like freaking out on the train as I was reading that there in public. I did not care. When I got to this reveal, I just started going, oh my god, they just did this thing! And I could explain this to a diehard comic book fan, and they still might not even know what this thing is. But if you know what it is, it's one of the coolest reveals in comic book history. Now, as I said, it was at like number 5 on our top 100 comics of the year list. It was so freaking high up there. The only reason why I could not get it at number 1, I had to judge it objectively, and I had to say, yes, it is kind of obvious that they came in here and had to end the series short. It did not get to go as long as they wanted to, so they did have to wrap up a lot of stuff really quickly there at the end. So that's why I couldn't get to number 1, but I will say, I've seen a lot of series out there that ended before they wanted to, that ended short and they had to wrap everything up real quick. This did it probably better than almost any other series I've ever seen to do that. This series was able to take all these little things that should have been stretched out over the course of a long period of time and have them all happen just rapid fire, one after another, but they all still had a huge impact to them. They all still felt like a huge, massive event. When they came in here and said, here's the resolution to the problem that you guys have been facing throughout all these issues, it felt like something gigantic. It did not feel like, all right, guess we gotta just end this thing now. It felt like, oh my god, that's actually a huge moment for these characters. It had weight. It had a huge impact. That's incredible to me that you can pull something like that off. That is an amazing example of taking lemons and turning them into lemonade. That is one of the reasons that I love that finale so much. it was able to take an ending that should have felt crammed, should have felt rushed, and it didn't. It felt earned. It felt like, oh, this is the actual conclusion to this story. This is how it should have ended. Yeah, man, that's incredible. That's like a magic trick in this industry that you're able to pull something like that off. And the artwork. I've been applying Donny Cates this entire time, but the artwork by Jeff Shaw and coloring by Lauren Ave had such a great feel of action to it. And I don't mean the action scenes were great. They were amazing. The big battle in the final issue is one of the best that I've seen in years. But when I say it's filled with action, I mean they made it feel like something was always happening in this. Every single panel felt like that world was in motion. It felt like every single panel was alive and people were moving inside, but not just like the person in the foreground. Every single panel feels packed. Like I said, this is a great book for Easter egg hunters because you're like, oh, there's that thing over there, that's that thing over there, that's that thing over there. But even when there are no Easter eggs in there, you will just be in a room loaded with characters and you'll still be looking everywhere just going, oh, who's this person over there? What's this person doing over there? Everything just feels crammed to the brim with activity and life in every single page. So yes, Paybacks, finally coming out today. I've been talking about this book for years now. Literally 4 years, and I've always kind of been sad when I talked about it because I knew that you guys at home had no way to read this. You finally have a way to read this. So I will be putting a link in the description down below of where you can go and buy the complete collection of Paybacks. And you know what? I'm also going to put a link to where you can buy the first series that they did set in this universe, Buzzkill. Because again, you don't have to read that in order to read Paybacks. You can go straight into Paybacks. But Buzzkill is really darn good as well, you guys. So I'll put a link to both those in the description down below. And remember, if you decide to buy either of those books or anything else on Amazon, as long as you start by going through the links in the description down below, we get a small cut of the profits. It's a great way to help support this channel while getting yourself something cool at the same time. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Come back next time. Bye.